Hello and welcome to NPC, Next Portable Console, a show all about the games we take with us and the devices we use to play them. I'm John Voorhees, and I have a couple of wonderful co-hosts with me today. I've got Brendon Bigley over there, who looks like he's having a little coffee or tea, maybe.
Yeah, it's a little milk tea.
Okay.
Morning milk tea.
That's a good choice. I like it.
My gamer glasses on, my blue blocking glasses that I got for a whole $3 on the internet. So I'm living it up this morning.
Well, you're doing a video game podcast. You should be wearing gamer glasses.
True.
And we've got Federico Viticci here. Hey, Federico.
Hello. I don't drink milk with tea because I'm Italian. I drink espresso. That's a very British of Brendon, I guess.
This is milk tea. This is like a Japanese tea. It's a thing called royal milk tea.
Okay.
But it's like a powder. It's almost like when you're making hot chocolate out of a powder, but it's
it's
like a tea.
Interesting.
Very nice.
Yeah,
interesting.
I'm a big fan.
At least you're not following the gamer stereotype. You're not sipping on some Mountain Dew or something.
Yeah, some Code Red at 10 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean that's very elegant of you. Very elegant gamer, I think.
Yeah, thank you. Ooh, elegant gamer. I'm gonna change my my Blue Sky handle to that.
Gamer.
Perfect.
I think up front we should address and we should thank the people who joined NPC XL on Patreon.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you so much. Your direct contribution allows us to make obviously NPC XL every single week, and it just allows us to dive deeper into the topics. And following last week's announcement, I've been very happy with the reactions that we've seen in a whole bunch of places. Yeah. Blue Sky, Mastodon, the TWG Discord. I think the community there has just been so wholesome and so lovely to get feedback from those people. So thank you.
It's been a lot of fun hanging out there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. We have a lot of topics like we discussed in the inaugural episode of NPC XL, and we get to do another one today right after this regular show. So that's cool.
Yeah.
We should preview that, Federico. I mean, we're gonna talk during the XL episode all about our origin stories, both with particularly with handhelds, but a little bit with consoles too, and how they compare. I think we've all got very different starting points, so it should be an interesting conversation.
Very different stories, I think.
That'll be fun.
Also, before we move on to the news segments and we talk about what's happening in handhelds, John posed an interesting question.
Yeah.
And the question, as it reads in our document, is which comes first, Brendon's portal or the wedding?
Yeah. I ordered the Odin portal, I think like a week after you guys did. Like it wasn't that long. We talked about it on the show. Yeah. And then I was like, all right, you guys convinced me. I'll get one. So I ordered one. And then you guys got yours. Mm-hmm. And you've had them for like a month at this point. Mm-hmm. And I think what happened was there was the Chinese New Year of it all. That was the beginning of it. And then all the tariff stuff started happening as well. And my portal is like we're not even close. Like I pre-ordered this on Indiegogo. Like this is like their version of the Kickstarter campaign, basically. Like I was in that pre-order window. No sign of it coming anytime soon. My hope is that it comes before the end of the month, but it seems like they're ramping up production. But I don't know. I would like to take it with me when I go on a honeymoon. That's my fingers crossed. I would like to bring that and the ROG Ally with me. Those are the two things I want to bring with me.
Nice. Yeah, it seems like the color you got, I think you got white, right? I mean, I think that color in particular has been, fewer of them have been made. I got black, and I got mine, I think, first. Yeah. And Federico got black and the Max version, I think.
No, I got white. I got white.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but you didn't get the grips with it, and I did get the grips with it. And I'm wondering if that's part of the reason, is because I ordered it with the grips in the campaign.
Maybe because I did order the grips after the fact, and that email confirmation is like nowhere to be found still. So maybe it is the grips. Question for you, Brendon.
I ordered my grips about a week and a half ago, and I haven't heard from Ian yet.
I have a question for Brendon. If you manage to get the portal before you go on your honeymoon, are you going to leave the Xbox or the PlayStation 5 or both powered on at home so that you can remote play from the honeymoon? Okay.
The answer is yes. Okay. The hitch of this, just getting real in the weeds, that we might be subletting the apartment, and if that happens, then there's a world in which like the person who's staying here might want to play Xbox, and I don't know how that's going to work. But Yeah, my plan is probably not Xbox because I don't need to because Game Pass is so great, and xCloud. But the PS5 I'll probably have plugged into the router at least, so I can access it from anywhere. Because that honestly, and this is I was thinking about talking about this as a bigger topic at some point in another episode. Maybe we should do that, especially as I get closer to my prep for that trip. But I've just been thinking a lot about the accessibility of all the different platforms from on the go, right? Like PC, very easy. You have Moonlight that you can download onto your PC.
Right.
You also have things like GeForce Now if you want to access your libraries from elsewhere and stream them. Xbox obviously has Game Cloud. They're adding more games that are not Game Pass games to xCloud as well, which is great. PlayStation, totally in the wind. Yeah, it's like that. Yeah. You get like some stuff, like they have cloud streaming for a couple things, I think here and there, but not a lot. And for the most part, you just need a PS5 with you. And it is, because of that, is like the least transportable or portable console out there. Least portable console, PS5.
Yeah. Least
we're gonna have to kick him off the show.
Yeah, our LPC award goes to the PS5.
Yeah, we can get really into the weeds there. I mean, we could talk about dynamic DNS, like that sort of stuff. You want to make sure that you can reliably access your console at home. There's a whole world of like, I mean, John could get into the tail scale of it all when it comes to to accessing your network from outside your network. But we'll get into that in a future episode. But speaking of networking, see how good I am at these things. Speaking of networking, we got some interesting details about the Nintendo Switch 2, courtesy of the FCC in the United States.
Shout out FCC!
Shout out to the American government. Not really, but
definitely not.
Not really, but in this case, what is the FCC? The Federal
Communications Commission. Yeah.
Ooh, Federal Communications Commission. We know that the Switch 2 will carry NFC and Wi-Fi 6. Now, NFC seems like a given, obviously the existence of Amiibo as... Is that a Waluigi?
It is a Waluigi.
Of course it is.
Of course it's Waluigi. NFC compatibility on the Nintendo Switch 2 seems pretty much obvious. I mean, why not keep making those really expensive figurines and with really, really high markup on them? Why not? I mean, sure. That's great.
Did you see Nintendo just won a lawsuit against somebody for knockoff Amiibo? I was thinking back to the sets of cards you can buy on Amazon, which are little plastic cards with NFC chips on them.
Yeah.
I still haven't, despite having right above me, right there, a whole complete collection of the Zelda Amiibo, like every single official Zelda Amiibo. I do keep a series of fake NFC cards in my nightstand just because they're more convenient to keep the cards.
It's easier.
It's easier than to have 36 figurines of my nightstand.
Yeah,
you know?
That's bizarre.
But the Wi-Fi 6 of it all, I mean, it's good enough, but part of me was sort of hoping that maybe the Switch 2 could have had 6E or Wi-Fi 7 even, but I don't think it's a huge surprise, especially considering Nintendo's very conservative approach when it comes to cost-saving measures to make sure that hardware can be accessible to everybody. It just means that when it comes to streaming, and stay a second here with me, when it comes to streaming, the Nintendo Switch 2 may not be as high performance as something like an Odin Portal or an ROG Ally, but the question is there even going to be any kind of streaming on the Nintendo Switch 2? Meaning, and this is the question that I'm asking you guys, do we think that this time around Nintendo is going to work with the likes of Microsoft for Game Pass, which is something that was rumored many years ago for the Switch 1? Do we think they're going to work with Nvidia or GeForce Now? Do we think there's a scenario in which the Switch 2 is positioned in any way as a streaming device?
I don't think so. I really don't. I mean, they've done some experimentation here and there. There have been games like Control and some others that were effectively streamed for the most part. They didn't play super well in my experience when I tried them. I mean, that was Wi-Fi 5 too, which I believe in the original Switch. So
which 6, also had a famously bad Wi-Fi card as well. Like it wasn't only that it was Wi-Fi 5, but it was like bad Wi-Fi
slow.
5.
Yeah, it's just not a very good antenna. I mean, it was always very slow to download games and things like that. So yeah, I kind of don't think so. And I think it's, for Nintendo, it's probably okay given their core audience and what they're shooting for, that they not have cutting edge Wi-Fi. I think that's, 7 is still in its infancy. More people have 6E, but I don't know. I think that 6 is still the sweet spot.
Yeah, I think so too, especially right at launch here, and maybe when they do a hardware revision down the line, they'll up it. I imagine not, but maybe they will. Yeah, I think the thing for me is you have to ask yourself what Nintendo gets out of allowing Microsoft to put Game Pass on there. Like, what is the upside for Nintendo to allow that outside of, and I think this is maybe the most compelling case you could make, positioning it closer to something like the Steam Deck again.
Yeah.
Like if they're continuing to consider the PC handheld market, as I think we all suspect they are, I think there's a real possibility that allowing stuff like that opens it up to a wider gamut of people, therefore maybe hypothetically allowing them to think like, I could get this instead of a Steam Deck. And any pros they can put in that, that 2-column comparison list, I think is probably going to be a plus for Nintendo. The thing about this though is that if they allow Microsoft to do that, then Microsoft just wins no matter what, right? Like Microsoft's winning across the board. I think this is a much larger conversation we could have, but like, is Game Pass, is streaming going to work out for them? This is an Xbox, etc. Like, is that strategy going to work out? I think we're starting to see years later, like literally almost 10 years after that really started in earnest, we're starting to see that pay off. So I could see it, but I'm not like holding my breath for it. I don't feel super compelled. I do think the thing that I do think is more likely, honestly, over everything else, we're actually going to see like Netflix and Hulu and like all these streaming services just like pop up here. That seems more likely to me, more so than game streaming.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I do want to talk about Xbox, like in the bigger, like the bigger strategy behind the Xbox now. And in fact, I want to leave you with a teaser before we move on to the next segment. I recently mentioned, last week I mentioned that I sold my eGPU.
Yes.
Right. That I sold my Z13 acronym. I also sold my old 1X GPU. So I literally don't have any eGPUs anymore. Those devices, however, made room for something else.
A mini PC?
Let me grab something. Obviously, you guys know what this is, right?
That's an Xbox controller.
Why would I have an Xbox controller? Is the question.
Because you have an Xbox.
You've gotten an Xbox. Once again, you're back in it.
And which
one?
Very
nice.
And which one?
Oh,
I'm gonna guess.
Think carefully. Think carefully. You know me. You know my taste in terms of aesthetics with these things. So,
I would guess either the white all digital X.
Yep, that's the one.
Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah. We'll talk about this because I do want to talk about Xbox more in depth. But yes, I got the all digital Series X, mostly to play Avowed. But then I realized, this is basically like having a medium spec PC again, and without any of the complications of a PC. But just a teaser. We'll talk about this at some point in the future.
Yeah, I would like to talk about that.
Yes, but yeah, literally, this is an Xbox. Like this one under my desk.
That's as Xbox as it gets, baby.
This is the Xbox.
Yeah, this is the Xbox.
Yeah. Anyway, this first few months of 2025 are shaping up to be very much. It's shaping up to be like a Retroid 2025.
Yeah. It really is.
What's happening, John, with Retroid? There's a whole bunch of Retroid-related news that we need to cover.
Yeah, so if you think back to when Retroid first teased the Pocket Flip 2, in the background of that image was what looked like either a foldable or a vertical handheld. Mm-hmm. And since we talked about that last, it has in fact been revealed that it's a vertical handheld. It's called the Retroid Pocket Classic, and it has a lot in common, as it turns out, now that we've not only seen that it comes in a variety of colors and a variety of form factors. Most of them are being made with a 4-button configuration, but there's also a 6-button model that is being produced too. But we've also learned more about the screen. It's OLED, It's essentially the same screen that is in the AYANEO Pocket DMG, except that it's actually brighter than that one. That one I looked is like 450 nits. This is 500. 500 is pretty good, actually.
Yeah, interesting.
I think that's the same as the Retroid Pocket 5. So we don't know anything about the chipset in it yet. We don't know anything about the pricing, but we do know that it's coming in kind of classic Game Boy Color colors, as well as these two varieties, the 4-button and the 6-button variety are coming out at some point. And I saw the Kiwi one. That's the one my Game Boy Color that I had was a Kiwi Game Boy Color.
Same.
I want it so bad. And I could really see Retroid taking this, if they get the pricing right and they get kind of the tech specs right, this could be a really nice device for kind of that lower end of the emulation category. So I think it's a 1080p screen, I think, if I remember correctly. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I think it's a really nice looking device. What do you guys think?
I feel okay. When they announced it, I was like, why?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who this is for. I don't know why they're making it.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of like a vertical Retroid handheld that runs Android, doesn't have analog sticks, but has this like AMOLED screen. I was like, who is this for? And then when those specs started to come out and we saw the size of the screen, etc., I was like, I think the answer here, especially seeing how big it is, because it's going to be around, it's bigger than like the NextUI Brick or the Miyu Mini Plus or whatever. It's closer to that AYANEO Pocket DMG and the Analog Pocket. The answer here is that if they get the price right, throwing a dart, I'm going to say $150. I think it's going to be $150, $149.99. I think is going to be the price. It is the obvious choice instead of getting either of those two devices. That is the market they're going after. Are the people who want the Analog Pocket or the people who are even considering going AYANEO ever again. You get the Retroid Pocket Classic instead, and you have an amazing time.
And at 150, it would be a great deal compared to those devices. The Analog Pocket is a lot more, and the Pocket DMG it was over $300, I think.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
150 is not cheap, but the closer they can get it to 100, the bigger this market's going to be. It's just shy of a 4-inch screen. It's 3.92 inches.
Yeah,
it's 1240 by 1080. I'm looking at the image right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a really cool device. I don't know how much I want one, but I do think for people who really like vertical handhelds, this is going to be the obvious pick if you want to play Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance, like that era of game on the nicest screen you can get at the lowest price. Like this will be the obvious choice.
I think it could be good for Super Nintendo too, actually.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fine for, all the way up to like PS1 probably.
Or Sega Genesis with the 6-button version.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we never really talk about the Sega emulation on the show, but because also like there's very few devices with a native 6-button configuration. One of them is the Ambernic Arc something.
They have one or two.
Yeah, they have a couple. But yeah, I mean personally, I'm more excited. I'm very much excited about the Flip 2, which we talked about last week. But also, like, and I think that theory about the price point is correct. If they can hit 150 with this sort of device, obviously, like, it's not a replacement or it's a step up, from the TrimUI Brick, both in terms of pricing, most likely, and size, physical size.
Yeah, right.
But I think that combination of a Flip 2 and the Classic, I think they suddenly have a really interesting lineup going into 2025, which, from my experience with the Retroid Pocket 5 last year, I was not necessarily expecting to suddenly be interested in Retroid again. And in just a couple of weeks, I did a complete 180 on Retroid, and now I'm like really looking forward to the Flip 2.
I think it's really important that they get the internal specs right, because if they go too high end the way AYANEO does, that'll just cost too much, and for no particular good reason. I think that's the problem with some of the AYANEO devices, is that they're overpowered for what you're going to use them for the form factor.
I think the thing about Retroid that they tend to get right is that they make devices for people to play, not to collect. And I think there are a lot of other companies that are going the more collector's route. And I think if this goes anywhere above $150, you break into that. This is just going to be for like the people on the SBC gaming subreddit who just like kind of want everything, versus the kind of thing you could recommend to like anybody. And as we've talked about a lot on the show over the past year, Android is a much easier entry point, I think, for a lot of people to wrap their heads around when it comes to like their first emulation handheld, because they already understand how to use a mobile operating system.
Right.
So this feels like, if they can get the power right, as you were saying, John, like, and the price, this is going to be like a really obvious recommendation to a lot of people who just want to relive those like Game Boy years. But you know, we're gonna have to wait and see.
Yeah, and John, what's going on with the other drama in the Retroid Discord? What's going on?
We talked about this pretty early, I guess towards the end of last year, is that the Retroid Pocket Mini had an issue with its screen, and especially when you use particular shaders for like simulating a CRT screen or something, it didn't look right, and people were trying to get to the bottom of it. At first, Retroid thought it was a software issue. Other people thought it might be a screen issue. It turns out it sounds like it's a driver issue, that there's actually a driver that is doing some sort of image optimization as the signal's being sent to the screen, and for certain types of shaders, it doesn't look great. Now, I think this is like one of those things that you can see it when you see these magnified views of the screens. I think that this is limited to a very small subset of people who are using shaders, first of all, and who kind of are bothered by it. I mean, I think it's a subtle thing. It's not like these are wrecked screens by any stretch of the imagination. But actually, just as we're recording this, Retroid has announced that they are going to do a return policy for, it's pretty limited. They're doing it like for 6 days, and they're limiting it to 200 people 200 people overseas.
That's funny.
So it's pretty limited.
Overseas, starting from where?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure where Retroid's
I mean,
located.
when you think about it, anywhere could be overseas.
I know, it's true. But I saw that in the Retroid Discord this morning, actually. And so they are trying to do right by their customers. It has become a very big thing on Reddit. A lot of people were very upset about it. A lot of people spent a lot of hours trying to get to the bottom of it. And as far as it looks like, it's an unfixable engineering problem with the screen itself and the driver that they're using.
I guess the question would be, are those a lot of people, less than 200 people?
Yeah,
Because
I don't know. It strikes me as the kind of thing that is fairly limited, in that it really is affecting people who are using shaders more than anything else. And and even the people using shaders, it's particular shaders, not all shaders.
Yeah.
And then then you also not only have to be using that kind of particular shader, but it has to just be something that bothers you. You've got good enough eyesight that you notice it. And I don't think that that's everyone either.
Yeah, I think the Retroid Pocket Mini was such a niche device already. Right.
Yep.
And then, as you're saying, John, like, keep going down that funnel. Like, maybe it is under 200 people who really care that much.
Yeah.
I would just turn the shaders off and I'd be like, okay, well, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the Retroid Pocket Mini people bought specifically as their classic console of choice because of that screen.
Right.
So yeah, I could see that affecting those people.
All right. Moving on, I wanted to ask you guys, do you know this company called Magic X?
Yeah. This is their second handheld, which is interesting. They released one like 4 or 5 months ago, somewhere in that vicinity. It was like right towards the end of last year. They released just kind of a classic horizontal one that was kind of similar to the Anbernic, the 35XXH, like kind of in that realm. It's a little more rounded. It's a little more powerful, which is cool. People seem to like it a lot, actually, because with that one, they really came out of nowhere. And when they came out of nowhere with that device, they put up a website that was like, this one is available for sale. And then they showed like coming soon with a bunch of other devices, like renders of other devices on their shop page. And this was one of them, the 040.
This 040 is the second device from this company, Magic X, that I saw somewhere may or may not be affiliated with Powkitty, it sounds like.
That's interesting.
I read in an article that there was some affiliation with Powkitty going on. Anyway, they're doing this. The 040 is possibly the first device that is really targeting DS emulation. So this is interesting because what they're doing is sort of similar to the Nintendo 2DS, and it's sort of similar in shape as well.
This is like exactly what we predicted at during our Handheld of the Year episode, by the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
That somebody was going to come up with a system specifically targeted for dual screen emulation, except it's one screen that is going to be divided by half in software. So it's an 800 by 400 screen. It uses the same all-winner CPU used in the TrimUI brick. It's going to have 2 gigabytes of RAM. It's going to have a micro SD expandable storage up to 512 gigabytes, 4,000 milliampere hour battery, and it's going to run Android. And they are now the thing that is unclear right now is how exactly are they going to optimize for Nintendo DS emulation? Are they going to have a specific 040 like fork of one of the Drastic, for example, which was recently pulled from the Google Play Store? Like, are they going to come up with? Are they going to use one of the many Nintendo DS emulation cores, like Melon DS, for example, and they're going to have their own emulator built for Android, like specific to the Magic X 040? We don't know that yet, but I think it's interesting that this is now happening. Like we predicted at the end of last year, this is obviously the next frontier for these handhelds. Like, how can you offer something that is specifically built for Nintendo DS emulation? And honestly, this also looks very cute. Like from the images that I've seen, it's a tiny little thing for Nintendo DS.
It is. I'm not so into the design personally, but and I think it's worth noting that the screen is actually smaller than the DS screen. So that's a little bit of a bummer, I think, potentially. But I don't know. I mean, I like that they're doing this, and I expect we'll see more of it before the end of the year.
Yeah, I've seen some people say that it's a missed opportunity to not target the 3DS as well, which I think is like, that's way out of the realm of possibility right now, if I was to guess. But the thing that I find interesting about this, first of all, having the same CPU as the brick means that it'll run DS games pretty well. I think specifically the big difference between those two is that the brick only has 1 gig of RAM and this has 2, and I think that's actually going to probably push it over the line into making it work with a lot of games that I think the brick would have a hard time with. The thing that I am interested in is that I don't know, like, can I use a stylus? I think if I was to buy a handheld that was targeted specifically at the Nintendo DS, and they were building some kind of stock operating system that was specifically targeting the Nintendo DS, I would want to make sure that I could play literally the entire Nintendo DS library on there with like really no worries. And that's actually my biggest concern is like, am I buying this for games where I'm not really using the touchscreen that much? Like if I'm playing something like a Zelda where I need to draw on the bottom screen, like kind of precisely, or things like Elite Beat Agents that are like rhythm games that also require pretty precise touch controls. What is this device going to be like for stuff like that? Also, games where you need to turn the DS sideways and play them kind of like visual novels. What's that going to be like? I have a lot more questions than answers. And then also it being smaller from a screen real estate perspective than the DS does kind of raise some concerns for me as well. So there's like a big list of reasons that I wouldn't want this, but I also really appreciate how small it is, right? Like I think that trade-off is maybe worth it because it'll fit in my pocket, and that's sick.
Yeah. Next, I have a confession to make. I never owned or played a PlayStation 3.
Oh, really?
Never.
Same here.
Whoa. Okay.
Never. And
I got one right at the end of the PS3's life cycle. Like it was like right around when the PS4 was going to come out. PS3 was like I think $200 at that point, and it came with the Uncharted collection. Like it came with all of the Uncharted games.
Nice.
And that was a great way to start.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about these our gaming origin stories in NPC XL. I have basically those like 4 to 5 years in my life when I tried to go to college, and then I dropped out of college and I started working and I started Mac Stories. And for like those first 3 to 4 years, I basically didn't touch video games at all, which is why I missed the entire PS3 era. I completely missed, and also some of the late DS and early Nintendo 3DS titles, but we'll talk about that later. But I mentioned the PS3 because there's an Android build of the emulator RPCS3 that's recently come out. I haven't played with it, but I saw some articles about it. I think also Russell Retro Game Core published a video of the PS3 emulator running on the Odin 2. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm fascinated. Have you guys tested it yet?
I have not yet, but I am fascinated too. I think it'd be a lot of fun to try.
Yeah, that's going to be a big. I have the Odin portal kind of test, I think, because I could I could do it on the Mini hypothetically right now, but I don't know. That feels a little weird. I think I'd want a bigger screen for that. But it's exciting. I mean, look, the fact that we're pushing into this generation of games, I think, is really, really exciting.
Yeah.
I'm stoked that we're doing this at this point.
Yeah.
Can I also run it back for a second to the Magic X? Because I was just thinking, like, oh, cool, it's small and it's portable and isn't that great? But like, is it that much smaller than this?
Yeah, I was gonna say you do have a DS Lite.
I don't know.
Pretty tough.
It might not be. It's like this is just as portable, if not more so, because it's a clamshell. I don't know.
Yep.
Anyway,
I need to talk about something next, which is this concept prototype, the Samsung Flex. Okay, so Mobile World Congress recently happened in Barcelona, Spain, I think. It's an annual trade show, sort of like the European CES, if you will. It's a trade show where a whole bunch of like tech companies and phone companies go out and share some announcements. Some of them specifically targeting the European market. Like we got some details and the release dates in Europe for the latest Xiaomi phones. We do have another Android phone that we want to talk about that also debuted this week. But at MWC, Samsung showed off this prototype, which you could actually see and touch and try and fold, because the Flex is basically a foldable Nintendo Switch. So they showed off this 7-inch panel with controllers always attached. It looks like a Nintendo Switch, with the exception that you can fold it in half. And
like a book.
Like a book. It's a book-style foldable. Obviously, Samsung, they make a whole bunch of foldables.
Sure.
And they're prototyping this idea of what if a Nintendo Switch like handheld could be folded in half, therefore making it much more pocketable, much smaller when you want to carry it around. Now, if you will take a look at the pictures, there's going to be links in the show notes. As you will see, what's really peculiar about the Samsung Flex is that there are holes, like actual holes in the two halves of the controllers. And you may be wondering, wait, what holes? Yes, because having two analog sticks that pop out from the body of the device, when you fold it in half, if you want to have it folded, shut and flush with the two halves sort of touching each other, well, those sticks have to go somewhere when you fold it close. And those sticks are going in two holes on each side of the device. I think this is a wild idea, and I am so here for the chaos of this concept of what if a Nintendo Switch, but you can close it in half. Yes. I don't know if I ever would like to buy this device. Like, I mean, there are plenty of Android-based handhelds, but it folds. I mean, Brendon, you are the person with you really care about pockets, as we.
He does. He's Mr. Portable.
I care
Pocket.
about pocketability, and I'm a person who has owned a folding phone in the past. I sold my iPhone and got a Google Pixel Fold when that first came out. So, like, there's a piece of me that's like, yes, this is what I'm all about. I just think that I love the holes. I think it's such a funny idea. It just looks so uncomfortable to actually press the buttons, because around the holes are the buttons. So like that's where the face buttons are. That's where the D-pad is.
You gotta stick your thumb in the hole to press the buttons.
The buttons. That just feels like that's not going to be very, very comfortable. So I don't know, man. I don't know. It's like, maybe it's the color choice. Like it's kind of like lime green on it's like toxic 90s green on the left, and like hazard yellow on the right.
It kind of looks 3D printed, which
it
probably
might be. Yeah, yeah, of course.
I don't know,
but I also I don't know, like how powerful is it going to be, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know. I would need more information. But I mean, it's a concept phone, How much
I guess this is not the first time that they've shown it off at Mobile World Congress. I read somewhere that this debuted maybe a year ago, but it's been refined since then.
Yeah, they had I think like a wireframe sketch of it at some point on the internet. I remember seeing it in the past and people saying like, what's going on with the face buttons? Like, why did they look like that? And the answer is, of course, that they're holes, and that's why there's a big circle in the middle. In
general, I think, and obviously, like, not to mention the durability, right? But obviously like when you play with a handheld and you're pressing the buttons and you're just maybe shaking it because like there's a vibration motor maybe inside. We know that foldables tend to be much more frail than regular devices, so also durability and price become concerns. But I think in general, as we've seen at CES and we've seen at Mobile World Congress, like a lot of companies are moving into the foldable space much more than before. It all started with a regular foldable, like either book style or flip style foldables. But now we have companies making like foldable laptops and like rollable displays.
Yeah, rollable laptops. Yeah.
Rollable laptops. Both LG and Samsung, like they have like this briefcase. The actual briefcases that you open up and there's like a foldable display inside.
Yeah, it's like a TV. They're selling them as TVs, I think. Aren't they?
Samsung also showed off like an asymmetrical flip phone where like it looks like a Z Flip, but it's not actually a Z Flip in that there are two hinges, and so when you flip it close, there's a tiny portion of the display that remains visible in between the two halves, which. Like, why? But they show it off.
Oh, so you can see your battery life.
So for the time and the battery.
Yeah.
And notifications, because that couldn't happen on the outside screen.
And all the dust is going in there, obviously.
Yep. Yes, indeed.
So all these companies are making, like, obviously, it sounds like, big picture, it sounds like the foldable technology has really progressed over the past couple of years. And so now these companies are trying, like, throwing this spaghetti at the wall, be like, okay, but what about, I don't know, a laptop where you get a second screen on the vertical side, and all these executives are like, yes, do that. That's an idea.
Look, this is more of a Mac Stories take than an NPC take, I think. But I do think that foldables are the future for mobile devices specifically. Having used the Pixel Fold for what little time I did, having a phone that opens into a tablet and merging those two device categories together is unreal when you're doing it. Like in the day-to-day of owning a device that can do that, I used it way more than I thought I was going to. I assumed that I would get this and it would be like mostly a thing where it's like I'm only using it while it's open or I'm only using it while it's closed, but you start to very quickly realize what apps and what kinds of things you want to do on each. And why not also do that for games? I don't know. I was playing a lot of Marvel Snap in tablet mode on that Pixel Fold. I'll say that much.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, Federico and I just talked about this on our show App Stories because
we were both Apple rumors.
Yeah, we were just thinking about it, especially with the new Apple rumors. What if you had a phone like that opened up in that way from Apple? Would you use an iPad anymore? I think it raises that as a question for a lot of people, probably.
Yeah, if it turns into an iPad Mini, then I don't know. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. We have some more news to cover, but I think I'm gonna do something here, and I am going to save some of these links, unless there's something that you guys really want to mention on the show. But I was thinking that maybe I'm gonna save some of these links for a little extra, like a little newsletter post on Patreon for our NPC XL members.
Yeah,
unless there's something in particular that John wants to mention.
There is one. I do want to follow up on the AYANEO story because
I knew it was going to be that one, which is why I called you out. I knew it was going to be that
one. We talked about this, right? We talked about what they were doing with their Pocket Micro. They've got the Pocket Micro Classic coming.
Yeah.
That's the one, as anticipated, has no stick. And it's like, well, it has no stick, and what do you get for that? $20 off. That's all it is. It's pretty disappointing as far as I'm concerned. I mean, it's identical to the old one, just no stick. I feel like, based on a lot of the feedback I read on Reddit and other places, that this device would probably have fared better if not only they removed the stick, but they also downgraded it essentially for some of the internals, because the screen's fantastic, but it's a very small device. It's really designed to be for the GBA and that era of games. It's not really for the higher end games like as much. And without a stick, it makes it even harder. So getting only $20 off to eliminate the stick struck me as a little disappointing.
Am I wrong, or is it also made of metal? Like maybe it doesn't need to be made of metal.
It is. Yeah. No, it is made of metal. It's pretty heavy. It's hefty. It's heavy for what it is because it's not much bigger than some of the smaller ones we've talked about before, that from Ambernick and the like, which are plastic and a lot lighter.
It's a cool device, don't get me wrong. Like, I think it looks really pretty, but you could make it out of plastic and remove the sticks and shave a lot of that price off, I think, realistically.
Yeah, because it's a $200 device that's been knocked down to $180. It really should be like a $100 to $125 device maybe. It could still be premium with a really nice screen.
Yeah.
And be plastic. Yeah.
Right. I think so too, especially considering it's basically just built for GBA.
Yeah, really, it is.
Yeah. Brendon, I think you wanted to bring a couple of additional things to the show today.
Yeah, I have two things I want to shout out. Number one is something I haven't messed around with yet, but I'm excited to literally mess around with today when I'm done with all of my errands, which is this new build of MinUI that's going around that a developer put together. What is their name? Row 8 in Morgan on GitHub. Put together this thing called MinUI Next, which actually it looks like between yesterday and today has been updated to now be called NextUI, which is interesting.
NextUI. Okay.
Does that imply some bigger changes? I don't know. That's very interesting. It's currently supported on the TrimUI Brick and the TrimUI Smart Pro, coming eventually to the I think Miu Mini Flip as well, which is very interesting to me. But it's basically a build of MinUI that just adds more stuff, which I know sounds antithetical to MinUI, which is, as we've talked about, it's like a very minimal user interface that basically just has a list of consoles and games within those console lists, and then you just play them. Very simple controls. That said, this adds a game switcher that is very similar to Onion OS. It adds a bunch of extra stuff for specifically the TrimUI Brick to allow you to control the LEDs. There's some stuff like apparently a box art scraper as well. Adds a bunch more consoles. Lower latency, it turns on, like the actual device itself turns on faster. There's just a lot more stuff in here that doesn't really compromise on what makes MinUI, but just makes it a better experience overall. And in some cases, I think makes it a little more user-friendly than MinUI already is. So it's really interesting, I think. And seeing people talk about it on the internet, people seem really, really stoked about it. And knowing that this is hypothetically also coming to something like the TrimUI, the Miu Flip is like, that's maybe going to be the device for me with this on it. So it's cool. It's a cool idea.
NextUI. Okay.
NextUI. Yeah, I can't believe they changed the name. That's funny. I added this to the rundown yesterday. The other thing I want to shout out real quick, because I've only had it, or I've only been using it, I guess, for a couple hours, but I think all of us, Federico, do you have one? Maybe not. I know John and I are fans of this, which is the 8BitDo Ultimate controller.
Yeah, I have one, yes.
Yeah, it's an amazing controller. Comes with this great little charging dock. It rocks. It works on Bluetooth, and you can plug it straight in, or it has a 2.4 gigahertz dongle that you can plug into stuff. It is like the controller that I recommended to most people for things that they wanted to do on either PC or Steam Deck or on Nintendo Switch, which is also where I used it a lot. I'm a big fan of this controller. I have played with it for probably like hundreds, if not at least 1,000 hours, like somewhere in that vicinity. And it's been rock solid, very good. 8BitDo released a new version of it, the 8BitDo Ultimate 2, which I got in the mail yesterday. I totally forgot I pre-ordered it. And then because I'm in like a very much like no buying mode right now. So when a package showed up, that was like, oh no, what did I buy without thinking about it?
What did I do?
Yeah. Then I was like, oh, it was months ago. Anyway, the 8BitDo Ultimate 2 is out. And I'll hold these two up. I got it in white just so it would be like actually different. Maybe I'll turn the gain on my camera down so it won't like blow out the thing. But it looks very similar. There are some notable changes immediately that I think are worth shouting out. So if I hold these up next to each other, you can see, first of all, the top buttons are like totally different. There's way more of them all of a sudden. Interestingly, one of the buttons is used to mess around, and Federico's going to love this, mess around with the LED pattern in the analog sticks. So when you're using it, there's like these kind of like everyone has on their handhelds now, these like LED rings around the analog sticks, which do a bunch of different things. The default pattern, and it's so weird, is that when you're using one analog stick, the other one will light up in that direction, which is strange. It has the back buttons, which is great because I was using those a lot when I was using it on my Steam Deck and on my mini PC. But a thing I honestly had no idea this was even a piece of this upgrade here. They have 2 extra buttons, 2 extra shoulder buttons.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah, an L4 and an R4 up here. And they feel really good. And overall, the controller feels really good. And it now has not Hall effect, whatever that new thing is that other people are using now, right?
It is. It's I forget what it's called, but I read about it. It sounds really good.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that there was a new thing.
Yeah, it's like Hall effect, but better in some other way.
Okay.
But anyway, it has sticks that won't drift ever. It feels a little bit, not much, but like a little bit sturdier than the original, and has all these extra buttons on it. It's an amazing controller, and it's the same price as the first one. It's just like, I think going to be my go-to forever. Like I'm just going to use this on everything from now on.
Okay, hold on.
Big
you
fan.
know what my question is gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
The buttons, are they clicky? Yes, that's the sound I like.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Definitely not as quiet here. Definitely not as quiet as your beloved DualSense,
Obviously.
but still not
Pretty
bad.
close.
Pretty
Pretty close.
good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to get this one.
I ordered it. Mine's coming on Thursday though for some reason. I got mine from Amazon. Maybe
Are
you
they
got
maybe
yours
doing?
early.
Are they doing multiple versions like the previous Ultimate?
Not yet. Not yet.
Okay, so there's just the one version now that's gonna work with PC, Switch,
Yeah.
and Android, I guess,
Yeah. And iOS. Yeah.
and iOS.
Yeah. But so far, so good. I like it a lot. I've been playing Kingdom Hearts 3 again. I'm trying to like actually make my way through that game now, which is a very like button mashy kind of intensive jumping around doing stuff game. It feels really good. It feels really good. I like it a lot.
Okay, well, you convinced me. I think
Federico's over there searching Amazon right now.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it later.
Well, while you do
but,
that, John, let's wrap up.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, everybody. And thanks again for everyone who has joined the Patreon for NPC XL. We really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You can find Brendon over at wavelengths.online and me and Federico over at macstories.net. And the three of us are on social media. Brendon Bigley, John Voorhees, and Federico Vitici. Just search for our names. Talk to you later, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.